Are you looking for the best monitors for Xbox Series X? In this video we will look at some of the best monitors for Xbox Series X. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description, so make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Number 1. MSI MPG 321URX QD-OLED. The best monitor for Xbox Series X that we've tested is the MSI MPG 321URX QD-OLED. It's a fantastic 32-inch, 4K gaming display with remarkable picture quality. Although the Xbox Series X can't take full advantage of the monitor's 240Hz refresh rate, it still delivers an incredible gaming experience at 120Hz with crisp motion handling. It works well with the Xbox thanks to its HDMI 2.1 bandwidth, as it supports any signal from the console, including 4K at 120Hz. On top of that, it delivers exceptional picture quality. It displays perfect blacks next to highlights, which is great for gaming in a dark room. It also makes those highlights truly pop and colors are vivid in HDR. Even if you want to use it in a well-lit room, it gets bright enough in HDR to fight some glare. The reflection handling is also fantastic, but with a glossy screen coating, strong reflections are distracting. If that bothers you, the Samsung Odyssey OLED G8/G80 SDS32DG80 is a good alternative with a matte coating that has fewer direct reflections, but it costs a bit more than the MSI. Number 2. LG G2724D. If you prefer saving some money and don't need the premium features of the MSI MPG 321URX QD-OLED, then check out the LG G2724D. Instead of the QD-OLED panel of the MSI, it has a OLED panel and colors are less vivid. On the plus side, it has the same deep blacks and near instantaneous response time, so motion is extremely sharp without much blur. The LG also has a lower 1440p resolution than the MSI, so images are less detailed, but because it has HDMI 2.1 bandwidth, it can still take full advantage of the Xbox, including downscaling 4K at 120Hz signals, which is useful for playing games in HDR. Speaking of HDR, small highlights stand out, and while it doesn't get bright enough to fight a lot of glare in a well-lit room, it has fantastic reflection handling. You can also consider the Asus ROG Strix OLED X-G2724D DMG if you want something brighter, but because it doesn't have HDMI 2.1 bandwidth, it can't take full advantage of the Xbox with 4K HDR signals at 120Hz, so the LG is still the better option. 240Hz refresh rate. Gear up for smooth gameplay with an ultra-fast 240Hz OLED display. The faster speed lets you respond quickly to opponents and stay a step ahead of the competition. 0.03 milliseconds response time. Enjoy smoother scenes with less lag or ghosting thanks to LG UltraGear OLED's nearly instantaneous 0.03 milliseconds (GTG) response time. VISA Display HDR True Black 400. VISA Display HDR True Black 400 certified means this monitor meets industry standards for brightness as well as deep, rich black color expression. The benefit for gaming and streaming content is impeccable image detail in dark scenes for a stunning visual experience. Number 3. Acer Nitro 15275 P3 BiPros. If you don't want an OLED like the LG G2724D or the MSI MPG 321URX QD-OLED and you prefer getting something cheaper, then check out a mid-range option like the Acer Nitro 15275 P3 BiPros. Without an OLED panel, it doesn't display the same deep blacks without any blooming like the MSI or LG. That's the trade-off you need to make for something cheaper, and it still has a good mini LED local dimming feature. On the plus side, it has a higher 4K resolution than the LG for a sharper and more detailed image, and it also gets brighter, so it's the better choice for a well-lit room. Although it doesn't have the same near-instantaneous response time as the LG or MSI monitors, motion still looks sharp, as it has a fast response time at 120Hz and 60Hz. One downside is that it has increased input lag with 60Hz signals, so you need to make sure to enable 120Hz in the Xbox's settings to get the lowest input lag for a responsive feel. Number 4. AOC Q27G3XMN. If you want the best Xbox Series X monitor and are on a budget, consider the AOC Q27G3XMN. It's a step-down model from the Acer Nitro 15275 P3 BiPros and has a lower resolution, so games look less detailed. It also lacks HDMI 2.1 bandwidth to take full advantage of the Xbox, but that's what you have to expect for an entry-level monitor. Luckily, it still has excellent image quality as it uses mini LED backlighting like the Acer, which is a nice touch for a budget-friendly model, so it displays deep blacks with bright highlights. It doesn't have the same increased input lag at 60 Hz as the AOC, so games feel responsive no matter the refresh rate you're gaming at. It also has a fast response time, but there's some smearing with fast-moving objects. One thing to know is that this monitor sometimes goes out of stock. If you can't find it available, the Acer Nitro 15275UP3 Bipes is a great alternative that also has mini LED backlighting, but it has worse motion handling than the AOC. Number 5. Dell G2724D. If you don't have much to spend on a monitor for your Xbox Series X, then the Dell G2724D is a great choice, which you can get for cheap directly from Dell's website. It's a step down from the AOC Q27G3XMN, with the main trade-off being that it has worse image quality as it doesn't have mini LED backlighting. Its HDR colors look far less vivid and rich, and blacks look gray in a darkroom. It also doesn't get bright enough for highlights to pop in HDR, but that's what you have to expect for a cheap monitor. On the plus side, it still works well for gaming with the Xbox. Besides lacking HDMI 2.1 bandwidth, it doesn't have compatibility issues with the console, and it can downscale a 4K at 60 Hz signal for HDR. Fast-moving objects look fairly crisp, and it has less smearing than the AOC. Sadly, it doesn't have an audio output, so if you want to use speakers, you'll need to use an HDMI audio extractor or connect speakers directly to your Xbox controller. 240 Hz refresh rate. Gear up for smooth gameplay with an ultra-fast 240 Hz OLED display. The faster speed lets you respond quickly to opponents and stay a step ahead of the competition. 0.03 milliseconds response time. Enjoy smoother scenes with less lag or ghosting thanks to LG UltraGear OLED's nearly instantaneous 0.03 milliseconds (GTG) response time. Visa Display HDR True Black 400. Visa Display HDR True Black 400 certified means this monitor meets industry standards for brightness as well as deep, rich black color expression. The benefit for gaming and streaming content is impeccable image detail in dark scenes for a stunning visual experience.